Prehistoric humans hunted mammoths, and for thousands of years, the mammoths let them. It's not that they couldn't fight back. They could. That was never the issue. They just didn't initiate. They grazed, they moved, they avoided, and humans built entire survival systems around that one assumption. Now, change one thing. What if the mammoth decided it was done being prey? Nothing changed about them, not their size, not their speed. They just stopped running. What happens to the humans who built their entire world around a prey animal that suddenly stops acting like one? That's what we're about to find out. Here's what people get wrong about mammoth hunts. They imagine it like a chase, spears flying, mammoths sprinting, hunters closing in. But that's not really how it worked. Most mammoth hunts succeeded because the mammoth cooperated, not on purpose, but functionally. Yes, it fled in a predictable direction, panicked in a way humans could read, separated from the herd at the right moment. Not random, not chaotic, structured fear. Hunters didn't overpower the mammoth, they outpredicted it. That's the whole system. Not strength, prediction. And prediction only works when the animal behaves the way you expect. Now think about that. The entire human hunting strategy, spear positioning, cliff drives, coordinated group pressure, all of it was built around one behavioral assumption. The mammoth runs. Not sometimes, not depending on the situation, it runs. Now change that assumption. Let's talk about what mammoths actually were. Not the cartoon version, not the museum skeleton. A fully grown woolly mammoth stood nearly 11 feet tall, weighed up to 6 tons, and carried tusks that could reach 13 feet long. And here's the part that matters. Mammoths were almost certainly as cognitively complex as modern elephants. Modern elephants, remember, problem solve, recognize threats across years. They've been documented charging vehicles, dismantling fences, returning to locations where they were previously attacked, and responding differently the second time. Not reacting, adjusting. They learned. Now give that brain to an animal that weighs 6 tons and carries 13-foot tusks. That's what prehistoric humans were actually dealing with. And for most of history, that animal just walked away. Walked away from something it could have ended. Now push that a little further. What if it stopped walking away? Here's the small shift. One mammoth somewhere gets cornered by a hunting party. Instead of breaking left, the predictable move, it turns, fully, directly toward the hunters. No hesitation, no confusion. It doesn't just defend itself, it advances. The hunters scatter. Some don't make it. The mammoth doesn't chase far, it just holds the ground longer than it needs to, and then it goes back to the herd. Now here's where it gets strange. The herd was watching. Modern elephant research shows that herds share stress responses. They read each other's posture, mirror behavioral shifts across the group without direct communication. So the herd saw what happened, and somewhere in that collective memory, something shifted. Not instantly, not all at once, but enough. You've hunted mammoth your whole life. Your father did, his father did. You know the signals, the terrain, exactly where to position the group to push the herd toward the ridge. You've done it maybe 100 times. Enough times that it stopped feeling dangerous. Today, you take your position. You make the noise. The same noise that always works. The herd turns, but they don't run. They face you. All of them. No stragglers, no hesitation. You look left, you look right. Your group is still there, same spears, same formation, but something is different. The mammoths aren't reading as prey anymore, they're reading you. And somewhere in your chest, you feel it before you understand it. You are not in control of this moment. Now think about what just broke. It wasn't just one hunt, the entire logic of the hunt collapsed. Cliff drives don't work if the animal doesn't flee toward the cliff. Coordinated pressure doesn't work if the herd doesn't scatter. Ambush positioning doesn't work if the target walks toward the ambush instead of into it. Every technique, every strategy, every piece of inherited hunting knowledge, all of it was built on the mammoth running. Now it's not. Not one mammoth, not one location. The behavioral shift moves through herds the way information moves through any socially intelligent species. Slowly at first, then faster, and then it becomes the new normal. Okay, but what happens to the humans? This is where it scales. Mammoth wasn't just food, it was infrastructure. Bones built shelters, hides became clothing, fat fueled fires through winter, tusks became tools, weapons, trade material. A single hunt wasn't just a meal, it was a supply run for months. Now that supply run starts failing, not dramatically, not all at once, just consistently. Groups come back with nothing, then injured, then some don't come back at all. And the pattern holds. You're at camp. 3 days since the hunting party left, they should have been back yesterday. You've started rationing without deciding to, eating less without talking about it. Everyone knows, nobody says it. The hunting party returns on day 4. Fewer people than left, no mammoth. One of them tries to explain what happened, but the words don't quite fit. They came toward us. You've never heard that sentence before. Not in any hunt, any story, any warning passed down. The mammoth doesn't come toward you except now. It does. Here's what the ripple looks like. Human groups in this period were already operating on thin margins. No surplus, no storage systems sophisticated enough to buffer prolonged failure. If mammoth hunting success drops, not to zero, just down, the pressure spreads fast. Groups move, competition increases, smaller prey gets overhunted, plant sources get stripped faster, and the groups that depended most on mammoth, they're now competing with groups who never specialized. That's where conflict starts appearing. That's not a small problem. That's a civilization-level pressure point. And here's the part nobody thinks about. The mammoth didn't need to win every encounter. It just needed to make the encounter costly enough that humans started hesitating. And hesitation changes everything. Now push this further, because mammoths aren't solitary. A herd that has learned humans are a threat doesn't just defend, it anticipates. Modern elephant herds have been documented tracking human presence, returning to conflict zones, recognizing specific individuals involved in past encounters, not reacting anymore, anticipating. Give that behavior to an animal 3 times the size. Now the hunters aren't just failing to find mammoth, the mammoth is finding them. You're asleep. Deep into the night, the fire low. Something wakes you. Not a sound exactly, but a pressure. A vibration in the ground your body registers before your brain does. You open your eyes. The person next to you is already awake, already looking toward the tree line. Nobody moves. The ground keeps vibrating. Slowly, rhythmically, getting closer. And then it stops. Just outside the edge of the firelight, too controlled to be random. You can't see anything, but something is standing there, watching. This is where it stops being about hunting and starts being about something else entirely. For the entire span of human prehistory, there was an invisible line. Humans initiated, animals responded. That was the contract, the order of things. The moment the mammoth starts initiating, that line disappears. And humans, who built their identity, survival, and social structure around being the ones who initiate, have to figure out what they are. When they're not the ones deciding how the encounter starts. Not prey, not predator. Something in between. Something that hasn't had a name yet. The mammoth didn't need to be smarter. It didn't need to organize. Didn't need a plan. It just needed to stop cooperating with its own death. And that one shift, that single behavioral change, would have been enough to rewrite everything. The tools, the shelters, the migration routes, the social hierarchies built around successful hunters, all of it downstream of one assumption: the mammoth runs. And if it doesn't, then everything humans thought they were was only ever true because the mammoth allowed it.